The Imperial scout ship Starseeker slowed down as it approached the edge of Sol system. Captain Robert of the Galactic Empire stood on his bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. This was supposed to be a routine mission: observe the primitive Earth humans and report back. He had done this 100 times before on other worlds. "Captain, we're detecting something strange," said First Officer Miller, his fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "There's an energy reading ahead that wasn't in our previous scans." Robert walked closer to the screen, adjusting his white uniform. The Empire had been watching Earth for decades, waiting for the right moment to welcome them into the galactic community. But something felt different this time. Suddenly, the space in front of them lit up. A massive wall of blue light appeared, stretching as far as their sensors could detect. The wall wasn't solid. It looked like flowing water made of light, with strange patterns moving across its surface. "What in the galaxy is that?" Robert whispered. Before anyone could answer, giant letters began forming on the light wall. They appeared in every known language of the galaxy, including the Empire's official script. The message was simple but clear: restricted zone. No entry. Robert couldn't believe his eyes. "Check our position. Are we sure this is the Sol system?" "Yes, Captain," replied Miller. "This is definitely Earth's solar system. But these energy readings, they're unlike anything in our database." Just then, 5 more Imperial ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel behind them. They were part of the same observation mission. Robert watched as they all came to a sudden stop, their crews probably just as confused as his. "Captain," shouted the sensor officer, "the barrier. It's not just light. It's some kind of quantum field. Our systems can't even understand how it works." Robert tried to process this information. Earth was supposed to be a level 3 civilization, barely able to reach their own moon. This technology was far beyond even the Empire's capabilities. He opened a channel to the other ships. "All vessels, maintain position. Do not attempt to cross the barrier. Repeat, do not cross." But one ship, the Dawn Chaser, moved forward anyway. As it touched the barrier, all its systems suddenly shut down. The ship floated helplessly in space, its lights dark and engines dead. "Get me readings on Dawn Chaser," Robert ordered. Miller shook his head. "Their power systems are completely offline. Life support is running on backups. It's like something just turned off all their advanced technology." Robert watched as emergency shuttles from other ships moved to rescue the Dawn Chaser's crew. This was impossible. The Empire was supposed to be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They had ruled space for over 1,000 years. How could Earth, a tiny planet they had been planning to peacefully integrate, create something like this? A new message appeared on the barrier. "Your ship piece will be allowed to leave. Any attempt to cross this barrier will result in complete systems shutdown. This is your only duty. Any." Robert sat heavily in his command chair. In all his years serving the Empire, he had never seen anything like this. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was telling the mighty Galactic Empire to stay away. "Sir," said Miller quietly, "what do we tell Imperial Command?" Robert stared at the barrier, watching its strange patterns shift and move. "Tell them. Tell them that Earth is no longer a level 3 civilization. Tell them that we just found something that changes everything." As the Imperial ships turned around to leave, their sensors picked up one last thing: thousands of small objects becoming visible all through the solar system, like stars turning on. They had been there all along, watching, waiting, hidden by technology the Empire couldn't even detect. The humans hadn't just caught up to the Empire. They had surpassed them, and no one had noticed until it was too late. Robert looked one last time at the barrier before his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. He had a feeling that the Empire's greatest defeat hadn't come from a war or a battle, but from a simple message: Restricted Zone. No Inturi. The Imperial Palace on the capital world of Nova Prime glowed with golden light against the night sky. Inside the Grand Council chamber, Emperor Marcus paced back and forth, his dark blue robes sweeping across the polished floor. Around a massive table made from rare space crystals, 12 council members sat in uncomfortable silence. Impossible. The Emperor's voice echoed off the high ceiling. How did we miss this? How did Earth hide such technology from us? Admiral Wilson, head of Imperial Intelligence, stood up slowly. His old face showed the stress of the last few days. My lord, we've reviewed all our past missions to Earth. We found disturbing patterns. He waved his hand, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed different scenes from the past 30 years of Earth observation. 5 years ago, we lost contact with 3 spy drones near Mars. We thought it was a technical failure. The hologram showed the drones disappearing one by one. Now we know better. The humans were capturing our technology, studying it, and letting us think it was just breaking down. The Emperor stopped pacing. What else? 20 years ago, we sent cultural agents to Earth disguised as humans. They were supposed to guide Earth's development toward joining the Empire. Admiral Wilson changed the hologram. All of them sent regular reports about their success. But look at this. The hologram showed Earth's cities. Hidden in plain sight were advanced buildings and devices that looked nothing like Imperial technology. They had been there in every report, but no one had noticed. The humans weren't following our guidance, Wilson said quietly. They were feeding us what we wanted to see while developing their own path. Council Member Davis, the youngest in the room, spoke up. But why? If they're so advanced, why hide it? Why not join the galactic community? The Emperor laughed, but there was no joy in it. Because they were watching us, studying us, just like we thought we were studying them. He turned to face the council. Show them the trade reports. Wilson nodded and changed the hologram again. We thought we were cleverly manipulating Earth's economy through secret trade deals. But look at these patterns. The hologram showed trade routes across the galaxy. Tiny lines, almost invisible, connected Earth to thousands of worlds. They had built their own trade network right under the Empire's nose. Every failed mission, every lost probe, every crashed ship. Wilson continued, they weren't accidents. Earth was gathering our technology piece by piece, learning our weaknesses, and preparing. Preparing for what? Davis asked. For this moment, the Emperor said. The moment they could tell the greatest empire in galaxy history to stay away from their home. A new officer rushed into the room, bowing quickly. My lord, we just received word from the Earth blockade fleet. The Emperor turned sharply. They launched an attack. No, my lord. They just appeared. 3,000 ships, all around our fleet. They were invisible until now. The fleet commander says they're using technology we've never seen before. Silence fell over the room. The Empire's entire history was built on being the most advanced civilization in known space. Their power came from other worlds looking up to them, needing them. But Earth had just proved that the Empire wasn't as advanced as they thought. Options, the Emperor asked quietly. Admiral Wilson cleared his throat. We could try a full-scale assault, but given what we've seen of their technology, we would lose. The Emperor finished for him. There's something else, Wilson added. We're getting reports from other worlds. They've seen what Earth did. Worlds we thought were primitive. They're starting to question things. If Earth could hide its true power from us, how many others are doing the same? Davis whispered. The Emperor walked to the huge window overlooking the capital city. For 1,000 years, the Empire had grown by absorbing other worlds, always being the strongest, the most advanced. Now, a single planet had not only caught up, but had surpassed them, and had done it in secret. Send a message to all Imperial forces, he said finally. Mark the Sol system as a restricted zone. No ships are to approach Earth without direct orders from me. He turned back to the council, his face hard. "And find out what else we've missed. I want to know how many more Earths are out there, waiting to surprise us." As the council members hurried out, the Emperor stayed by the window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was changing everything he thought he knew about his empire's place in the galaxy. Deep inside the Rocky Mountains, in a hidden facility called Project Dawn, Admiral James walked through brightly lit corridors. His footsteps echoed off metal walls as he made his way to the central control room. Today was the day humanity finally showed its true power to the galaxy. The control room buzzed with activity. Hundreds of screens covered the walls, showing everything from Imperial ship movements to the quantum barrier protecting Earth's solar system. Dr. Wilson, the lead scientist of Earth's defense program, looked up from her main console as James entered. "They took the bait," she said with a small smile. "Just like you predicted." James nodded, watching the screens. 30 years of planning started with that first crashed Imperial scout ship in the Amazon. He touched a screen showing the old crash site. "They thought we'd just find some broken parts." The screen changed to show a warehouse filled with alien technology. But these weren't just stored artifacts. They were completely taken apart, studied, and improved upon. Humans hadn't just copied Imperial technology. They had made it better. "Show me the defense grid," James ordered. The main screen lit up with a 3D map of the solar system. Thousands of small dots appeared, each one a hidden defense platform. They had built them in secret, piece by piece, using technology that made them invisible to Imperial scanners. "Platform status?" James asked. Dr. Wilson touched her screen. "All 3,247 platforms are active and hidden. The quantum barrier is stable. Our ships are ready." She paused. "Hard to believe we kept all this secret for so long." James smiled, remembering how it all started. That crashed ship had taught them something important. The Empire wasn't as advanced as they pretended to be. Their technology had weaknesses, gaps that human scientists quickly found and fixed. "Remember their first cultural advisors?" he asked. Dr. Wilson laughed. "They thought they were so clever, trying to guide our development." She brought up old footage of Imperial agents in human cities. "They never realized we knew who they were from day one." The footage showed how Earth had played along, pretending to be impressed by small pieces of Imperial technology, while actually building something far more advanced. While Imperial agents wrote reports about Earth's primitive development, humans were creating quantum computers and gravity control systems. "Alert!" A young operator called out. "Imperial ships are moving near Saturn." Everyone watched as the Empire's blockade fleet repositioned itself. They had been sitting there since discovering the barrier, probably trying to figure out how to break through. "Should we show them the ships?" Dr. Wilson asked. James nodded. It's time they understood what they're dealing with. Dr. Wilson pressed a series of commands. Around Saturn, 3,000 Earth ships became visible. They had been there the whole time, watching the Imperial fleet. Each ship was smaller than the Empire's vessels, but packed with technology that made Imperial ships look ancient. "Look at their sensors going crazy," someone laughed. The Imperial ships were frantically scanning the Earth vessels, trying to understand how they had stayed hidden. "Send the message," James ordered. On every Imperial ship's computer, the same text appeared. "Your technology is outdated. Your empire is built on lies. Leave our space, or we will demonstrate just how far behind you really are." The control room watched as panic spread through the Imperial fleet. Ships started powering up weapons, then quickly powered them down when they realized Earth's ships weren't even raising shields. Earth didn't need shields. Their quantum technology simply made weapons not work. "They're running," someone announced. The Imperial fleet was turning around, preparing to jump to faster than light speed. James watched them go, feeling both proud and sad. "We didn't want this," he said quietly. "We would have happily joined a peaceful galaxy. But we saw how the Empire treats primitive worlds." Dr. Wilson nodded. The barrier isn't just to keep them out. No, James agreed. It's to show every world in the galaxy that the Empire isn't all-powerful. That resistance is possible. As the Imperial ships disappeared into space, James looked at the map of Earth's defense grid. Humanity had hidden its power for 30 years, building and preparing. Now they had shown the galaxy that Earth wasn't just another primitive world to be conquered. They had become something the Empire feared, a world that said no. 500 Imperial warships appeared at the edge of the Sol system. Their metallic hulls gleamed in the distant sunlight as they formed a massive attack formation. At the center of the fleet, the Imperial flagship Eternal Glory carried Admiral Peter, the Empire's most successful military commander. "Begin the diplomatic broadcast," Admiral Peter ordered, his gray uniform perfectly pressed despite his nervous energy. The Empire had decided to try one last peaceful approach before resorting to force. "Greetings, Earth," his message began playing on all frequencies. "We come as representatives of peace. The Empire wishes to discuss your isolation and find a path to cooperation." In Earth's hidden command center, Admiral James watched the Imperial fleet with tired eyes. "They really think we'll fall for this?" He asked no one in particular. Dr. Wilson checked her readings. "They're powering up weapon systems while broadcasting peace messages." She shook her head. "Typical Empire behavior." "Let them get a little closer," James said. "Let's see what they try first." The Imperial fleet moved forward slowly, their peaceful message still broadcasting. Behind their front line of diplomatic vessels, hundreds of warships waited, their weapons ready to fire. Suddenly, 20 small ships broke away from the Imperial fleet. They looked like normal transport vessels, but Earth's sensors revealed the truth. They were packed with invasion troops and cloaked weapons. "Trying to sneak in during peace talks," James sighed, "just like they did on Wilson's world last year." He pressed a button on his command chair. "Activate Defense Pattern 3. The quantum barrier in front of the Imperial fleet shifted, creating what looked like a tunnel through it. Admiral Peter smiled on his bridge, thinking Earth was falling for their trick. "Send in the diplomatic ships," he ordered. "The moment we're through, the rest of the fleet will." He never finished his sentence. As soon as the first Imperial ships entered the tunnel, everything changed. The tunnel wasn't a path through the barrier. It was a trap. "All ships in the tunnel have lost power," an Imperial officer shouted. "Every system is dead." Admiral Peter watched in horror as his diplomatic ships floated helplessly in space. Their weapons, engines, and even life support systems had all shut down at once. Only emergency backup power kept the crews alive. "Pull them back," he ordered. But before his rescue ships could move, something even more impressive happened. The space around the Sol system seemed to fold. It was like watching a paper map being folded. Suddenly, the distance between planets changed. Earth's defense platforms, hidden until now, appeared everywhere around the Imperial fleet. "Impossible," Peter whispered. Earth hadn't just made a barrier. They had found a way to control space itself. A new message played across every Imperial screen. "Your ships are now powerless. Your weapons cannot function here. You have 1 hour to evacuate your crews using emergency shuttles. After that, we will move your ships out of our space ourselves." In the Earth Command Center, James watched as panic spread through the Imperial fleet. Their mighty warships, pride of the Empire, were now just metal boxes floating in space. "Should we show them the rest?" Dr. Wilson asked. James nodded. Around the Imperial fleet, 3,000 Earth ships appeared. They had been there the whole time, weapons ready but not needed. Earth's technology was so far beyond the Empire's that actual fighting wasn't necessary. "Send the final message," James ordered. Every Imperial officer and crew member heard Earth's words in their own language. "We gave you a simple warning. Keep powering. You chose to ignore it. Now you understand why that warning exists. Leave our space. Do not return. Next time, we will not be so gentle." Admiral Peter stood on his bridge, watching helplessly as emergency shuttles evacuated his trapped ships. The Empire had never faced anything like this. They couldn't fight an enemy who could turn off their technology like a light switch and fold space like paper. In 1 hour, exactly as promised, the powerless Imperial ships vanished. Earth's space-folding technology had moved them far outside the solar system, leaving them with just enough emergency power to limp home. The mighty Imperial invasion fleet had failed without Earth firing a single shot. As Admiral Peter started the long journey back to Nova Prime, he realized a terrible truth. The Empire wasn't the most powerful force in the galaxy anymore. That title now belonged to the primitive humans they had underestimated for so long. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the trading world of Newmarket, thousands of alien merchants gathered around video screens, watching replays of Imperial warships being turned off like toys. In secret bars and hidden meeting places, representatives from 100 different worlds whispered about what this meant for their future. Commander Thomas stood in one such bar, his Imperial uniform hidden under a plain brown coat. After 20 years serving the Empire, he had finally seen enough. Behind him, 2 other Imperial officers sat nervously at a dark table. "Did you see the latest reports?" One whispered. 3 major trading routes have shut down. No one wants to fly anywhere near Earth's space. Thomas nodded, watching the room's various aliens. Many were from worlds the Empire had peacefully integrated over the years. Their eyes showed something he hadn't seen before: hope. On the bar's main screen, a news report played. Another Imperial mining colony has declared independence. This marks the 5th world this week to break away from Imperial control. The Empire's defeat at Earth had changed everything. Worlds that once feared Imperial power now looked at their rulers differently. If Earth could stand up to the Empire, why couldn't they? In the Imperial Palace on Nova Prime, Emperor Marcus faced his own crisis. The Grand Council Chamber, once a place of quiet obedience, had become a scene of chaos. "My lord," one council member shouted, "we've lost contact with our bases in the Outer Rim. Local governments are forcing our troops to leave." Another stood up. "The trading guilds are demanding independence. They say they'll stop all shipments to Imperial worlds unless we recognize their autonomy." The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. How? How did this happen so quickly?" A quiet voice answered from the doorway. "Because Earth planned it this way." Everyone turned to see Admiral Wilson enter, carrying a data pad. His face looked older than ever. "We found their agents," he said, placing the pad on the table. "They've been everywhere for years. In our trading posts, our colonies, even our military bases." The pad showed images from across the galaxy. Human agents, disguised as various alien species, had been gathering information and making connections with oppressed worlds. They hadn't just been preparing to defend Earth. They had been preparing to break the Empire's power everywhere. Every world that declared independence this week, Wilson continued, did it using Earth's quantum communication technology we can't block or track. The Emperor stared at the data. "They gave our enemies a way to talk without us listening." "And more," Wilson added. "Look at this." New images appeared, showing cargo ships at various ports. Earth has been secretly shipping defensive technology to other worlds. The same technology they used to stop our fleet. At least 30 worlds now have quantum barriers protecting them. In a distant star system, on a small farming world, people celebrated in the streets. Above their capital city, a quantum barrier shimmed into existence, a gift from Earth. Imperial ships that once terrorized their space now kept their distance, unable to penetrate the shield. Back on Newmarket, Commander Thomas finally sat down with his fellow officers. "Earth sent me a message," he said quietly. "They're offering help to any Imperial citizens who want to leave." "Leave the Empire?" one officer whispered, shocked. "That's treason." "Is it?" Thomas asked. "Or is serving an empire that conquers innocent worlds the real crime?" Before anyone could answer, every screen in the bar changed. Earth was broadcasting again, but this time to the whole galaxy. The message was simple. To all worlds suffering under Imperial rule, you are not alone. Earth stands ready to help any planet that wishes to be free. We offer our technology and support to all who seek independence. The Empire's time of unchallenged power is over. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor watched the same broadcast. In 1 week, Earth hadn't just defeated his fleet. They had started a revolution that threatened to tear his empire apart. "Your orders, my lord," Wilson asked quietly. The Emperor stared at the stars through his window. Out there, his perfect empire was crumbling, all because one primitive world had outsmarted them all. "Prepare my ship," he said finally. "If Earth wants to change the galaxy, they'll have to face me first." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as Earth's next broadcast began. On millions of screens across thousands of worlds, images started playing, not of battles or technology, but of truth. For 300 years, the broadcast began. The Empire has called itself a force for peace and progress. Today, we show you the reality. In Earth's command center, Admiral James and Dr. Wilson watched their evidence being shared with the galaxy. Hidden cameras had recorded everything. Imperial troops forcing peaceful surrenders, secret weapons being used on civilian populations, and corrupt officials destroying local economies to force worlds to join the Empire. "Do you think they'll believe it?" Dr. Wilson asked, watching the screens. "They already do," James replied. "Because we're not just showing them pictures. We're giving them proof they can check themselves." On every world receiving the broadcast, people discovered data packages hidden in the transmission. Earth had sent detailed records, documents, and coordinates. Everything could be verified locally, using each world's own data. On the Imperial capital world Nova Prime, Emperor Marcus watched his empire's darkest secrets being exposed. His hand shook with rage as Earth revealed how humans had gathered this information. "We placed observers on every world the Empire conquered," the broadcast continued. "Not soldiers or spies, but ordinary people. They lived among you, worked with you, and recorded everything." Pictures appeared showing human agents over the decades. They had taken jobs as mechanics, traders, teachers, and farmers. While the Empire watched for soldiers and spies, humans had simply become part of local communities, quietly watching and waiting. In a busy spaceport on the trading world New Market, Commander Thomas stood with a growing crowd watching the broadcast. Next to him, aliens from dozens of worlds muttered angrily as they saw proof of how the Empire had manipulated their planets. "They kept records of everything," Thomas whispered. In his hand, he held proof of his own. Documents showing how the Empire had destroyed his homeworld's economy to force them to join. The broadcast shifted to show massive underground vaults on Earth. "We didn't just watch," the narrator explained. "We preserve your cultures, your histories, your technologies, everything the Empire tried to erase when they conquered you." Dr. Wilson touched a control, and the broadcast showed more. Hidden in Earth's vaults were libraries of books the Empire had burned, artifacts they had stolen, and technologies they had banned. Earth had saved pieces of 1,000 cultures, protecting them from Imperial integration. "Your worlds can be free again," the broadcast announced. "Earth will share defensive technology with any planet that wants independence. But more importantly, we will return what the Empire stole from you, your heritage, your culture, your identity." On Nova Prime, the Emperor's council chamber erupted in chaos. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Imperial governors were being overthrown. Garrison commanders were surrendering. The Empire's careful web of control was falling apart. "My lord," Admiral Wilson reported, his voice shaking, "we're detecting quantum barriers appearing around multiple worlds. Earth must have prepositioned the technology. We can't stop them." The Emperor stood silently, watching his empire crumble. Earth hadn't just revealed the truth, They had given oppressed worlds the tools to fight back. Back in Earth's command center, Admiral James received an urgent message. Sir, long-range sensors detect the Emperor's personal fleet leaving Nova Prime. Over 3,000 ships. He's finally coming himself, James said quietly. Good. Time to end this. Dr. Wilson looked worried. It's a lot of ships, sir. James smiled. Numbers don't matter anymore. The Empire's greatest weapon was always fear. Fear of their technology, fear of their power. Now everyone knows the truth. They're not all powerful. They can be beaten. The broadcast ended with a final message to the galaxy. You are no longer alone. You are no longer helpless. Earth stands with you. As the message faded, a new age began. Across the galaxy, quantum barriers shimmered into existence around dozens of worlds. Ships bearing Earth's flag appeared near planets breaking free from Imperial control. The Empire's lies were exposed, their power broken. And heading toward Earth, Emperor Marcus led his fleet on one final desperate mission to save his crumbling empire. But this time, Earth was more than ready. The real battle was about to begin. The Emperor's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 3,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in Imperial history, faced Earth's quantum barrier. On the bridge of his flagship, Imperial Destiny, Emperor Marcus stood in his ceremonial battle armor, watching the blue barrier shimmer in space. No more games, he announced to his fleet. Today we show the galaxy why we have ruled for 1,000 years. All ships, full attack formation. In Earth's command center, Admiral James watched the Imperial fleet approach. Unlike before, he wasn't smiling. This wasn't just another battle. This was the end of an era. They've brought everything they have left, Dr. Wilson reported. Every operational warship in the Empire is out there. James nodded. Send the message. Across the galaxy, on every world with a quantum communications device, screens lit up. Earth was broadcasting the coming battle live. The Empire would fall not in secret, but with the entire galaxy watching. Begin the attack, Emperor Marcus ordered. Thousands of Imperial ships fired their most powerful weapons at Earth's barrier. The space around the solar system lit up like a new sun being born. But when the light faded, the barrier still stood untouched. Impossible, the Emperor shouted. Launch the phase bombs. Use the planet crackers. Everything we have. Wave after wave of Imperial superweapons struck the barrier. Each attack was more desperate than the last. But nothing worked. Earth's quantum technology simply ignored the Empire's most powerful weapons. Then Earth's defense grid activated. Thousands of platforms hidden throughout the solar system powered up. But they didn't fire weapons. Instead, they created a web of quantum energy that spread through space. What are they doing? Marcus demanded. He got his answer immediately. Every Imperial ship's weapons suddenly disappeared. Not destroyed. They simply ceased to exist, converted to harmless energy by Earth's quantum field. My lord, an officer shouted, they're not just disarming us. They're changing our ships. Throughout the Imperial fleet, warships began to transform. Weapon systems turned into life support. Armor plating became garden spaces. Earth wasn't destroying the Imperial fleet. They were turning it into something else. In the command center, Dr. Wilson watched the transformation. The quantum converters are working perfectly. Every warship is being turned into a colony ship or a hospital vessel. James picked up a communicator. Emperor Marcus, your fleet is no longer capable of violence. But every ship can now support life, grow food, and help people. The choice is yours. Continue a pointless fight, or use these ships to actually help your people. The Emperor stood frozen on his bridge, watching his mighty warships become vessels of peace. Around the solar system, Earth's 3,000 ships finally appeared, their quantum drives humming with power that the Empire couldn't even understand. Sir, an Imperial officer reported, we're getting messages from across the galaxy. the outer worlds. They're declaring themselves free. The Empire. It's over. Marcus slumped in his command chair. 1,000 years of imperial rule had ended not with a great battle, but with a simple demonstration of how power should really be used. Earth's final message played across every screen in the galaxy. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. Earth will not rule. We will serve. Our technology, our knowledge, our resources, all will be shared with peaceful worlds. The galaxy is entering a new era, together. In the following days, the transformation spread across known space. Imperial warships everywhere were converted by Earth's quantum technology. Space stations became schools and hospitals. Military bases turned into trading posts and cultural centers. 1 month later, on a reformed Nova Prime, former Emperor Marcus signed the new Galactic Charter. Earth had helped create a federation of free worlds, where every planet had an equal voice and advanced technology was shared freely. Admiral James watched the signing ceremony from Earth's command center. "Not bad for a primitive world," he said with a smile. Dr. Wilson looked at the latest reports. Across the galaxy, quantum barriers were coming down as they were no longer needed. Trade routes reopened. Cultural exchange flourished. The Empire's fall had given birth to something better. "We did it," she said quietly. "We changed the galaxy without destroying it." James nodded, looking at the stars through the window. The simple message that had started it all. Restricted zone. No Ian-Turoi had led to the greatest peaceful revolution in galactic history. Earth had banned an empire, and in doing so, had freed the galaxy. The end.